And this broadcast brought to you by 106th Street Tire and Wheel. Get your automotive stuff done at 106th Street Tire and Wheel, located in Corona, New York, 11368. We are officially live here at True to New York Sports Studio. I don't know why Billy's on that side, but I like it when you're on that side, Billy. Here at True to New York Sports Studio, featuring the Power Hour with Billy the Knowledge Punch and Lou the Mush DiMartino. Billy. What a crazy ending to a crazy season for the New York Mets. I mean, talk about rough Septembers. Probably one of the worst Septembers that the Mets of accomplishments, in my opinion, have ever had. Billy, tell me your thoughts, Billy.
Lou, it's time to call it what it is now. And what the Mets did, the words are on the screen right now. It was a collapse. We're talking about a team that won 101 games, a team that everybody thought was going to win it. Everybody thought at least was going to win the National League East. Everybody thought was going to be the number one challenger to the Dodgers, a team that was in first place for 174, 175 out of 180, 81 days, and they collapsed. The last 2 weekends of the year, they shit the bed. Then they went into this Padres series, and you know what they did? They looked like exactly what they looked like in Atlanta, except in game 1 and game 3, it looked like the moment was too big for them, and that's what it was. They looked overwhelmed. They went out there last night with their season on the line, and I did not see a fight in anyone at all.
Zero.
You know what? The second big start in a row you needed from Chris Bassett, and he failed you miserably. The second big start in a row from your $43 million man, Max Scherzer, and he failed you miserably. And you know what? I'm going to say this. I said something about it last week. Everyone made a big deal. This is what people talk about Garrett Cole, is what you got out of Max Scherzer on Friday night. They didn't sign Max Scherzer for what he was going to do from April to August. Max Scherzer was here for October, and in 2 October starts, Max Scherzer failed. And I also think it's pretty much safe to say we may have watched Jacob deGrom's last game as a New York Met on Saturday night.
Yeah, Billy, to say disappointment, it's an understatement as far as New York Mets stuff goes. Listen, I'm a New York Yankees fan. Yo, Louie, I'm a New York Yankees fan. I'm not a Mets. I don't hate the Mets. I have nothing to hate the Mets about. I've been very fortunate in my life that I've seen 5 World Series championships coming from a New York Yankees team. I have nothing to hate on the Mets. I wanted the Mets to succeed. And the fact that they had a 5-game lead into September over the Braves, blew it, then got swept by them 2 weeks ago, then lost at home to the Padres with Scherzer, who's getting paid $43 million. And they have the highest payroll out of everybody in the MLB. Billy, it's one of those things where I can't believe I'm going to say it, but now Mets fans know how it feels to be Yankee fans. Mets fans know how it feels to have the highest payroll in baseball, to have the highest pitcher pitching one of the biggest spotlights, and them not pull through for them. And on top of it, Billy, they were home. Last year, when Cole got rocked, he got rocked in Fenway. There's a huge difference playing at home compared to playing at visitors, and they blew it, Billy. And I've said it since July. The Mets did not do enough at the All-Star break to have a playoff contending team. Because what happens when Scherzer and DeGrom don't pitch to their full potential? You score 0 runs, Billy. Daniel Vogelback can't be the only hitter and rough to bring here during the All-Star break. There were more opportunities out there, and the Mets front office did not do their job.
Lou, they did nothing of significance for what this team needed at the trade deadline. It's a fact. They sat back. They rested on their laurels. I don't know if the prices were too high for them. I don't know what it was. They needed relief pitching, even though the bullpen honestly is one thing we can't complain about in this series at all.
No.
But they needed help in the bullpen. A ton of relievers were traded. They ended up with Michael Givens. There were hitters out there to be had. The Mets came back with Vogelback and Darren Ruff. It did not. Billy Epler, who had a great offseason, who did a great job building this team going into this season, to me, failed them when it meant the most. Buck Showalter did not, for all the good Buck did, and anybody that listens to the show every week knows I've been praising Buck since March. Buck Showalter did not do enough the last 2 weeks to get enough out of this team. But it's not those guys' fault. They didn't go out there and get one hit last night. They didn't go out there and pitch and give up 7 runs last night. The team failed.
Yeah. Billy, failed is an understatement. You cannot be playing in the biggest game, literally fighting for your life, and only get one hit, regardless if you're down 2-0 after the second inning, regardless if you're down 4-0 after the fifth inning. The fans were extremely quiet, as Carl said here. Extremely quiet at Citi Field yesterday, and rightfully so.
They killed the crowd. And I said this on Saturday, if anyone saw it. The Mets needed to score first. And when they did it Saturday night, they kept the crowd in the game the entire game. And that was a huge difference. That, to me, was one of the biggest differences in the game. They kept the crowd in the game. You went out there last night, fell behind 2-0 real fast. You took the crowd right out of it. Joe Musgrove, I don't want to hear nothing about, there was nothing in his ear. There was no, stop it. So everybody that wants to go with this, I've seen pictures all day of the inside of Joe Musgrove's friggin' ear. Stop. So now you're going to tell me the umpires cheated too? Because the umpire gave his ear a friggin' rub down and found nothing. You know, I was waiting for a cavity check on the goddamn mound, to be honest with you, the rate they were going. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Billy, I want to ask you a question about this whole checking Musgrove thing. And what's up, Bobby? If the Mets were winning that game, right? Let's say the Mets were up 2-0, right? And it's the sixth inning and Joe Musgrove is still in the game because he's only given up 2 runs and he's on a lower pitch count, right? Let's just say. Are the Mets going to check Joe Musgrove if they're winning at that moment?
No, absolutely not. But you know what?
And that's what I'm getting at.
I'm not going to badmouth Buck Showalter for doing it. Buck Showalter used a tactical move. He did what a manager in his position probably should have done. He was looking for a way to rattle the cage in a game his team was getting dominated. I have no issue with that. The issue I have is everybody continuing to last night and today saying something was definitely up. Look at his ear. So what are you telling me? The umpire who gave him a friggin' earlobe massage was in on it too? There was a big conspiracy against this? No. Joe Musgrove went out there and did what you wanted Chris Bassett to do. That's a fact.
Right. And Billy, not even that, Billy. Can we remember that it's October in New York? It was 55 degrees last night. He has big ears. His ears are just cold and he's sweating. That's exactly what that is.
Yeah, whatever it was, there was nothing found. It's not like they just it's not like they half-ass looked at him and they just said, "Oh, there's nothing to see here." No, they checked him as Buck Showalter requested and found nothing. So everybody's really got to stop with that. You went out there, you had a great regular season up until the last 2 weeks. After that, your team collapsed. And it's very hard for people to admit that because they haven't gone this far in a long time. Yeah. And that's the issue there. They look at they're used to making fun of the Yankees and other teams for collapsing. Guess what? You collapsed this year.
Yeah.
And that's what it really comes down to. The Mets collapsed.
What are you talking about? The last time I checked, Steele, when you sweat from your head and it goes down your ears. What are we talking about here, bro?
Steele, for once, it's very possible what Lou was saying. He actually spoke properly on that one. I get what he meant, but it doesn't matter. Joe Musgrove was dominant last night. There is no other word to use but completely dominant.
There's a reason why they're paying Joe Musgrove now $100 million. They obviously
the Padres got the big hits last night when they needed to. I turned around. I was watching the game with my wife, and I said to her when they walked, when they walked Kim and brought up Nola. That
was the second inning.
No, I'm talking about late in the game, the last 2 runs they scored when Nola hit the 2-run single. I said to her, "Yeah, that's a great move. Unless he hits one through the hole right now and knocks in 2 runs." He literally did it with the next pitch.
Right.
The Padres came through last night in every big moment that was there.
And Billy, not even that. You want to know who the batter is that came in those big moments? They're 6, 7, 8, 9 hitters.
Yes, the bottom of their lineup. I mean, look at what's next. Are we going to have Met fans saying that they should have checked Trent Grisham's bat? Was Trent Grisham's bat loaded? No. This guy came out and hit, and he came through. He did what you wanted to see from your hitters. I mean, and there's a few Mets, don't get me wrong,
Escobar had a decent series.
That I give credit for. Starling Marte going back out there and playing when he probably shouldn't have. He was great in game 1. He was solid through the rest of the series. I give Starling Marte all the credit in the world. That guy was a gamer, and he went out there and played well for the Mets. Escobar, right. I said it Friday night. Escobar was my key to the series for the Mets. He had a couple of hits. Unfortunately, they weren't difference makers. But where was it?
Right.
The same problem they had in the Atlanta series. Where was Lindor? Where was Pete Alonso?
I mean, they both had 1 home run, but it was after the fact. You know, it was when they were already winning, and
I mean, but where were they in the moments that they needed them the most?
Right.
That's the biggest thing.
Right.
Where were your top guys in the moments you needed them the most?
You know, Steele, you say that the better team didn't win. I don't know about that, man. I mean, if you look at the overall team of the Padres, look at their hitters compared to Mets hitters. It's not even close.
Steele, I'm telling you right now, with the exception of the cleanup spot, Josh Bell and Pete Alonso, I'm taking 1 to 8 in the Padres lineup every day.
Every day.
No questions asked. And yes, that means I'm taking Manny Machado over Lindor 100%.
I agree with that. And Billy, not even that. Look who you have off the bench on the Padres compared to off the bench on the Mets. Brandon Drury, an all-star from the Cincinnati Reds, got traded to the Padres at the trade deadline, and he was off the bench.
Yep.
He was off the bench this whole series. It wasn't even close. As far as hitting goes, the Padres are 10 times better than the Mets. And
you know what? I'll actually take that. I'll backtrack for a second. I'd probably take Nimmo over Jerickson Profar in the leadoff spot too. But that to me is a toss-up because they're both good. But other than that, I'm taking the Padres lineup every time.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm sorry, Steele, the Padres pitchers were better than the Mets pitchers.
Right. On paper, you had 5 Cy Young Award winners on paper, and the Padres had 0. And the Padres looked like the Cy Young Award winners in Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove. Actually, I lied because Blake Snell has 1. So you had 5-1, and Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish pitched how Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer should have pitched against this Padres team. And they didn't. The better team is the San Diego Padres.
The strength of the Mets was supposed to be the pitching staff, specifically the top 3 spots in the pitching staff.
Mm-hmm.
What failed the Mets in Atlanta and what failed the Mets in this series? The top 3 in that starting pitching staff.
And Jacob deGrom didn't even have a great game on Saturday.
He wasn't anything great. I mean, he had a dominant first 2 innings. I'll give him that, absolutely. But he wasn't the deGrom you're expecting. And the bigger thing with him is it's not like the season took a toll on him.
Right.
That's the crazy part. The season he didn't pitch that much.
No, he didn't.
And
And
I don't want to hear anything about blood blisters, his blood blister, the Scherzer's oblique. No, you took the ball, you're expected to perform. If you couldn't perform, don't
should have
take no
pitched.
part. At this point, maybe they would. You know what? If something was wrong with Scherzer, the way he pitched, they probably would have been better off with Cookie Carrasco taking the start in game one then.
Right.
Because, he couldn't have done any worse than that.
Billy, let me ask you a question. I thought it was a little weird that Carlos Carrasco and Taijuan Walker were not on the roster for this wild
Very
card
simple
series.
reason why. They didn't pitch out of the bullpen really this year. They were not prepared to pitch out of the bullpen. So they went with 3 starters and 9 relievers.
Right.
Right.
I just thought maybe Carlos Carrasco and Taijuan Walker would be put in the bullpen.
No, they didn't. What they did was when Joely Rodriguez, after game 1,
right, he got hurt.
Joely Rodriguez off for an injury and added Walker. But it's difficult, Lou. I mean, they did it with Peterson. Peterson did have a little more bullpen experience than both of them. It's not just easy to take a guy in and put him in the bullpen because with starters most of the time, you want them starting an inning. You don't want them coming in the middle of an inning with runners on there because they're not used to that. So it's very difficult then to take, you'd rather Peterson start an inning. You really didn't have a choice. You had to use him in any situation once Joely went down. Anytime Profar and Soto came up in a clutch situation, if there ever would have been a close one, he would have been the guy coming in at that point. Right. But you don't want to do that, and you don't want to handicap your roster and go, yeah, now I have 3 pitches on here. I'd really prefer to have starting innings. It's very difficult to navigate a bullpen when you're doing that. But I mean, it doesn't even matter at this point.
Go ahead.
They ran the entire team ran out of gas.
They did.
With the exception of Escobar.
Yeah. No, I know. And now, Billy, let's be realistic here. Even if the Mets did win, do you see the Mets beating a Los Angeles Dodgers team with rest?
The Met team I've seen over the last 2 weekends, absolutely not.
No,
absolutely not. There's not even a question. The Met team I saw a couple of months ago, I think it would have been a real damn good series either way.
The last time the Mets actually did well was against the Dodgers. That was the last time.
Let me tell you something. The Met team I seen 2 months ago wouldn't be playing the Los Angeles Dodgers right now. They'd be in the other bracket as the 2 seed, getting ready to play the Phillies.
Right, exactly. Now, Billy, let's talk.
A team they manhandled all season, mind you. Just think about that. If you held that division lead, you'd be in there right now playing the Phillies, who you owned all year.
And all you had to do was do what you did last night against the Braves. Last night against the Padres and 2 weeks ago against the Braves. All you needed was one. And all you needed was one win against the Braves, and you would have had the tiebreaker, and you would have had the number 2 seed. And Steele, great question. This leads us into our next topic of what does the Mets offseason look like? Billy, you have the stats.
One thing I'm going to say right now is the talk of any Met fan is, oh, I'd love to see the Mets steal Aaron Judge from the Yankees. Every team would love to see their team steal Aaron Judge from the Yankees. But let's be realistic here. I'm going to read you off the Mets free agent list right now going into this season. Jacob deGrom is going to opt out of his contract. We all know that. But in addition to deGrom, Carlos Carrasco, Edwin Diaz, Bassett, Trevor May, Nimmo, Taijuan Walker, Adam Ottavino, Tyler Naquin, Seth Lugo, Trevor Williams, Michael Givens, Vogelback, and Tommy Hunter are all free agents. That is 4/5 of your starting rotation right there, plus your closer, plus half your bullpen, your starting center fielder, your starting DH, who you probably weren't going to re-sign anyway, but you still got to fill the position. You think you're going to fill all those spots on your roster and give Aaron Judge the $400 million that you think is just going to get thrown around like Monopoly money?
No.
Be realistic. This roster, the team that lost last night, is going to look very, very different than the team that opened spring training in February of 2023. The bullpen is going to look very different. To me, the biggest priority the Mets have this offseason is to re-sign Edwin Diaz.
Right. Now, Billy, here's the thing, though. Out of if the prio is to sign Edwin Diaz, let's just say the Mets don't sign Jacob deGrom. Where can you see Jacob deGrom pitching this upcoming offseason?
Let me tell you, the Mets are going to make the best financial offer to Jacob deGrom. I know that. You know that. Anybody with a quarter of a brain knows that.
Yeah.
It's a matter if he wants to stay. And to me, there's 2 to 3 teams out there that I think he would seriously consider if he leaves. One of them being the Atlanta Braves, which no Met fan wants to hear, and the other 2 being the Giants or the Dodgers.
Yeah. Oh, you don't think Texas would be an option?
Why? Jacob deGrom is not leaving New York, not leaving winning, not leaving contending.
He's not winning, though.
Play for the friggin' Texas ring. But he's not leaving this to go backwards to a Texas Ranger team.
If the money's right, you never know. Look at Max Scherzer. He didn't want to play for New York. They offered him $43 million a year. He came here.
I just don't see it. And I'll tell you one thing right now. Jacob deGrom is one of the most beloved players in New York. Might be the second most beloved baseball player in New York after Aaron Judge.
Going to a Mets fan, it would be Pete Alonso.
If Jacob deGrom turns down Steve Cohen's money, which will definitely be the most money, he will be public enemy number 1 in New York. And now I'll flip the script on Met fans for a second here. What if Jacob deGrom doesn't want to leave New York? What if he's just not happy with things in the Met organization for whatever reason? I don't know.
What if he wants to be a Yankee?
What if the Yankees go and take Jacob deGrom then?
Right.
What if the Yankees lost Aaron Judge to the Giants and turned around and pivoted it and took that money and turned it into, I don't know, Trey Turner and Jacob deGrom?
I'm okay with that too.
I mean, there's a lot of things out there. The Mets are going to have an entirely new bullpen next year. I mean, the only person under contract in their bullpen next year is Joely Rodriguez.
Right.
And that includes, but that's why, to me, the biggest thing that needs is Edwin Diaz. I think you can go out. I think you can replace deGrom.
Well, here's the one thing, Steven, just to say about what you say. Yes, Jacob deGrom is 35 years old, but let's also remember that Jacob deGrom came up into this league as a shortstop. He doesn't have a 35-year-old arm. In fact, he probably has like a 28, 29-year-old arm for the simple fact that he has Tommy John surgery and he hasn't pitched as much.
But he's also, Lou, I'm sorry, he's right. We have not seen in years now that Jacob deGrom is capable of making 30 starts in a season. So I actually do agree with that statement. But you know what? He's still going to get paid. Somebody is still going to take the chance that it's going to happen. And you know what? Nobody knows more about his medical history than the Mets. So if the Mets go out there and make the highest offer, which I expect they will, that's got to tell me that they see something, that they have confidence. I don't know why they have confidence. I think it's more like cross your fingers. But I'll be honest. If I lose Jacob deGrom, I'm not going after Aaron Judge. I'm calling the Angels and I'm trying to get Shohei Ohtani because that's the real replacement for Jacob deGrom. That's your number. That's your number 2 starter, and there's your DH. There's your protection behind Pete Alonso in the lineup. I know he just signed a 1-year, $30 million contract with.
It doesn't mean anything.
1 year doesn't mean anything. To me, 1 year shows his lack of interest in being with the Angels right now long term. So I think something there definitely could happen. But that, to me, is your ultimate replacement.
Right. Hey, Mike, by the way, who led the league in strikeouts this year? That's right.
Without Spite Attack, exactly.
Right.
Moving on. But
moving
to me,
on.
a guy like Shohei Ohtani, that Shohei Ohtani is a perfect fit for the Mets.
Yeah.
He fills the Grom spot in the rotation, and he's your protection for Alonso right there. That's your 2, 3, and 4 hitters right there. Lindor, Ohtani, and Alonso. And that's as good as any 2, 3, and 4 hitters in baseball. But I mean, you still have to fill out the rest of your rotation. Everything I've seen and everything I've heard for the last month, to me, Bassett's gone. I don't think Bassett likes being here. I see Bassett, his attitude and the way he talks is he's a more temperamental Mike Mussina. And to me, being more temperamental means he doesn't want to deal with here.
Right. No. Chapman didn't sign for more. Yeah, when he signed with the Yankees, he did. But the Yankees are going to drop him.
No, we're going to get into Aroldis Chapman in a few minutes. But no, this is it for Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's the thing, though, too, Steven.
You're right.
You're right
again. I mean, that's the whole thing. That's where the Mets failed this year at the trade deadline. But they now need to put a team together to start next year. Right. This team was built for 2022. That was it. This team is built for 2022. And I honestly believe outside of first base and shortstop, and I'd say catcher now with Alvarez, nothing is off the table for the Mets. I wouldn't be shocked if the Mets remember when Trey Turner came up with the Nationals. They put him in center field when he came up. If the Mets decide not to bring Nimmo back, maybe they sign Trey Turner if he's willing to go back to center field because he was good out there when he first came up with the Nationals. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a possibility. I've heard everything I hear is he wants to come back to the East Coast. That could work. There's got, maybe Carlos Correa is willing to move to third base if the money's right. You're not keeping Escobar at third base if you can get Carlos Correa. If Alex Rodriguez did it in his prime, is the best shortstop in baseball at the time, I gotta believe Carlos Correa to play for a contending team may well consider it. But the Mets are going to have a lot of they'll move McNeil. They'll move McNeil to right field if they find the right second baseman. There are a lot of things out there. Yeah. Diaz leaves. There is not a team in baseball not named the Cleveland Indians that doesn't upgrade their bullpen with Edwin Diaz. Any contender to me is on the table.
I can totally see Edwin Diaz going back to Seattle.
No, I don't think that's going to happen because
why not?
I think there's going to be much bigger teams and much bigger contracts offered to Edwin Diaz than what the Seattle Mariners will offer. I think
he'll be a Met, though.
The Dodgers are going to, I'll tell you right now, the Dodgers are going to be in on him. I think the Yankees will have conversations with him. I think the Red Sox will have conversations with him, possibly even the Giants. Every team, every contending team with money is going to look to have a conversation with Edwin Diaz. He very well could be the most sought-after free agent this year. Because, look at the Yankees right now. The Yankees are going to ALDS. Yankees don't have a closer.
We were supposed to.
There was talk today. One of the names mentioned to close games for the Yankees in the series, Jameson Taillon.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we're at right now with the Yankees.
Well, Holmes has been unreliable. Chapman can't make practice.
That's the stake. That's 90% of baseball right now. The closer's role right now is pretty much, except for a handful of teams, is kind of in shambles. So Diaz is going to get. I'm not going to be shocked right now. There's going to be 10 to 12 teams in on Edwin Diaz, guaranteed.
Yeah, right. No, I agree. And Lou, I agree with that too. I think he would go back to Seattle.
Yeah, Lou, you're a schmuck. He's not going back to Seattle. But I'm telling Seattle's not going to be financially in the ballpark of what is going to be offered out there.
Hey, listen, you never listen, Billy. If the Seattle Mariners make the ALCS, they are, in my opinion, one hitter and one starter and possibly another reliever away from possibly making a World Series run.
Well, the Seattle Mariners are not in the financial stratosphere of paying $100 million to a closer, and Edwin Diaz is going to get $100 million.
Right. See, Mike, I wouldn't be surprised if Texas either. See,
yes,
this is what
Texas.
And this is why I'm saying about DeGrom too. I know DeGrom might not want to go there, but money talks, bro. And Texas needs pitching.
I think Texas is more likely for Diaz and probably even Bassett than it is for DeGrom.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'll be honest. I'll tell you this right now. If Jacob DeGrom ends up in the state of Texas, it's going to be for the Houston Astros. How about that?
The stars at night are big and bright.
And as Yankee fans, neither one of us want to see that. But that's the reality. If he ends up in Texas, it will be for the Houston Astros. But I think it's a lot more likely for the other four big pitchers on the Mets. I think it's a lot more Bassett, Carrasco, Walker, and Diaz, I think, are more likely Texas Rangers than Jacob DeGrom.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's good for baseball if DeGrom re-signs with the Mets. And I really do believe, as I said, that the Mets are going to make the best offer. I will be shocked. You will know something's really up if the Mets don't make the best financial offer.
Yep. I agree.
Yep.
All right, Billy, and this goes into a team that's actually still in the playoffs, the New York Yankees against the Cleveland Guardians. Now, Billy, real quick before we start talking about the New York Yankees, what a year that the Cleveland Guardians have had. Nobody expected them to make the playoffs, let alone win 90 games, let alone sweep in the wild card. I mean, this team, Shane Bieber, Tristan McKenzie have been two really good starters for them. Tristan McKenzie's an up-and-coming starter, finally getting his starts this year. You know, you have Jose Ramirez, who's arguably one of the best hitters in baseball. They have a pretty good, well-rounded team, and no one expected them to do as well as they do. Yeah, two former Mets, Rosario and Jimenez, right? So, what do we expect from this Yankees-Guardians ALCS?
They are a team built to me like old-school Yankee teams. They have a lineup that goes out there and grinds out at bats. They grind out runs. They come up with clutch hits. The pitching, they allowed one earned run in 24 innings in that wild card series against Tampa. Cal Quantrill starting game 1 tomorrow night against Garrett Cole. Cal Quantrill has been as good of a number 3 starter as anybody in baseball over the second half of this season. I mean, this is not going to be an easy series for the Yankees. No. This is going to be they're going to have to go out there, and if the Yankees win this series, they're going to grind it out. I mean, it is going to be, and they're going to have to face Quantrill twice. Quantrill Cole are going to be, the way this series is set up with a day off after every game, they're going to face each other in game 1 and game 4.
Yeah.
The best thing for the Yankees is going to be that I think McKenzie's going to go game. I think Bieber's going to go game 2.
Bieber will go game 2. McKenzie will go 3.
If it goes game 5, if it goes to 5 games, you have to go out there. Game 5 would be Nestor Cortez and Shane Bieber. A rematch of game 2. It is going to be a tough series. And like I said, they have the best reliever not named Edwin Diaz in baseball in Emmanuel Clase. That kid is money. And he is, and you know what? And the bullpen in front of him is damn good.
Yeah.
They hit. They come up with clutch hits. They hit for average. They're not a big strikeout team. They remind me of a team, actually, kind of like the 2015 Kansas City Royals.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. They grind out at bats. There's Jose Ramirez is a star, and a lot of people are. Jose Ramirez to me was always an under the radar star. Like guys like us that follow a ton of baseball, fantasy baseball, all that, we know who Jose Ramirez is. I think starting this past weekend and now going through, a lot more people are learning how good Jose Ramirez really is. And this is not going to be an easy series by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm not taking it lightly at all. But the biggest story right now, Lou, Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah.
What the hell is so what I saw today, Chapman basically told them straight out, I'll come back for the workout if you guarantee me I'm going to be on the postseason roster. They told him they can't guarantee anything at this point. He chose to stay in Miami and just didn't come back.
Right. No, and Billy, it's a shame because first of all, Aroldis Chapman has had probably one of the most up and down seasons from a reliever that I've ever seen in my entire life. Not only was he the Yankees closer to start the year, but then he got hurt, then he got demoted, then Clay Holmes got hurt, so he earned that closer role back after having a good couple of starts to just blow it again, and then he had a poor excuse for missing Friday's workout. It's been a crazy up and down year for Aroldis Chapman. In my opinion, Billy, he's a cancer. Don't let him come back.
Oh, he's not coming back.
Get rid. Just he's not gonna. You're not gonna see Aroldis Chapman in pinstripes anymore.
His Yankee career is over. I will say that with 100% confidence right now.
Yeah,
he's done. I mean, it wasn't. He hasn't had a save since May 17th. That's when Aroldis Chapman got his last save.
Right, and then Chapman with his tattoo. Right, then he got hurt with the tattoo. Right,
the whole thing. I mean, he has some ego, and it's finally come on full display. He went out and did the thing with the tattoo and all that because he didn't care. Once he lost the closer's role, he didn't give a crap to pitch for the Yankees anymore. The Yankees would have been better off doing what they attempted to do a couple of weeks ago. What they really discussed was when they were going to DFA him after postseason rosters was set and he couldn't go pitch for anyone else in the postseason. And I really still believe if Zach Britton came back healthy, they would have done it. I think the only reason they didn't is they waited to see what they had in Britton. Britton couldn't get the job done. Britton was still hurt, so they had no choice but to keep him. And to me, I think the Yankees did the right thing here. I think Litke and Wandy Peralta are the two better options right now. I trust Litke to come in and throw strikes more than I trust Aroldis Chapman. And the biggest thing here is you kind of get a little lucky as far as your left-handed relievers go. The only thing you really want to see a left-handed reliever for is I want to see it Quan, Josh Naylor, and I prefer, if possible, in a big moment, especially in Yankee Stadium, to turn Jose Ramirez
to the right-hand side.
To the right-hand side. So I think you can navigate that well with two left-handed relievers on your team for this series, especially in a 5-game series. I think you can get that done.
Billy, the one thing
I mean, like I said, I mentioned a few minutes ago to you. I don't know. I want to get your opinion on it. What do you think about it? Boone throwing the possibility out there of Jameson Taillon closing games?
I mean, I'm not opposed to it just because one, this year alone, Taillon has been kind of good to start off his games. So I'm not opposed to Taillon pitching one inning coming into a game. I'm not opposed to that. And we're not left with many options. And listen, you're only having 4 starters come ALCS time anyway. Why not throw them in the bullpen? Why not? I don't think it can hurt.
I personally like it a lot.
Yeah.
Because I remember back to one of the biggest things the Yankees did in 2009, and that was put Phil Hughes in the bullpen, and where he ultimately became Mariano Rivera's setup man at that point. And you know what Phil Hughes said? Phil Hughes turned around and said, "This is great. All I have to do now is go out there and throw." And he went from throwing 91, 92 to throwing 94, 95, 96. And that was huge. And he was a huge part of the Yankees winning that World Series because he was able to do that. And Taillon's, again, remember, Taillon stretched out.
Yeah.
They could bring Taillon in a game. He could pitch the 8th and the 9th inning. So I'm I'm curious to see it. I'm not against it at all. I mean, nobody else is giving you that confidence. I mean, the most confidence right now you have is if Wandy Peralta's healthy, because lately he's done it the best out of all of them.
Yeah, no, and Billy, not even that. Billy, first off, Mike, Nestor Cortez is our number 2.
Yeah, they're going Cole, Cortez,
Sevi.
Severino.
Yeah, so I'm not opposed to it, especially in this series. I'm not opposed to it because, just like I said, the one thing that I'm afraid of this series is that, yes, Garrett Cole had the most strikeouts in the league. He had a pretty good year. I'll give Cole that. He had a good year. He was like a 3.0 ERA, 255 strikeouts. But he also led the league in home runs. And I am afraid, especially at Yankee Stadium, against certain lefties, that if all he's got to do is throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball the wrong way, and we could see a lot of home runs come off of Garrett Cole. And we're going to see Garrett Cole, assuming there's no sweeps, at least twice this series. And that's the one thing that I'm worried about as far as pitching goes.
The biggest key to this series for the Yankees is Garrett Cole. We need to see the postseason Garrett Cole we saw 2 years ago, not the guy we saw last year. Garrett Cole has to come through in this postseason for the Yankees to win this series and to go any further after that. He's got to be your number 1.
Right. Yeah, and that's why, Steven, you're saying you would have thrown Cole game 3, but here's the thing. You put Cole game 3, you can't use Cole game 4 or 5. You got to have Garrett Cole pitch at least twice this series.
Yes,
you have to.
I agree. Cole has to be in game. I mean, I could agree with people that wanted to see Nestor go game 1, but I kind of like the way Boone did it, and I like splitting up Cole and Severino. And I remember this: he didn't give Nestor the ball for game 1, but he trusted him with game 5. So that does speak a lot of the confidence in Nestor Cortez, that they trust him to go out there in game 5 and be the guy they need. If against Shane Bieber, they trusted him to go into the series and pitch twice against Shane Bieber.
Right. And Mike, and I agree. And and here's the thing. I would rather have, and honestly, I like what Billy's saying here too about Nestor Cortez being our 2 and 5, because realistically speaking, the fact that the Yankees are having their ace pitch against Cleveland's 3 right now, you should win those games. You should be winning those games. So right then and there, Cole should technically win games 1 and games 4. Now, games 2 and 3, it might be a little bit different, because now you might have Nestor Cortez against Shane Bieber, and then game 3 you might have Tristan McKenzie, which is why you have to win tomorrow night. And if there is a game 4, you have to win with Cole, in my opinion, game 4 in Cleveland.
Tomorrow night is big for the Yankees. The Yankees need to win tomorrow night. Cole needs to come out and be decisive, and the Yankees need to win. And Steven, I get it. It's not wrong, but what you're saying is not wrong, but I have to see my number 1 guy go out there and be the number 1 guy you signed him to be. I get it. I mean, Severino and Cortez, everybody's earned it. I mean, you're talking about we're having a debate right now about the major league strikeout leader this year. I mean, I know he's given up home runs. So did Max Scherzer.
Yeah, true. And Uncle Vin, I think tomorrow's game, I can see a Yankees 4-2, 5-3. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
No,
I can see it being baseball.
I think we're going to see some well-balanced baseball played. I mean, look what Cleveland did. Tampa pitched well. Also, I mean, you had a 2-1 game, and then a 1-0 15-inning game that they just played in a great series. But getting back to Tyon for a second, this is a strategy, even talking about it, that we've seen the Dodgers and the Rays do in recent years. It worked great for both of them. When they had issues in their bullpen, they were able to use their starters out there to help them get through it. And it's the difference between the Mets and the Yankees. As Lou had asked earlier, why didn't they put Carrasco and Walker out there? Because the Mets were still playing as if in the next round, at least Carrasco was going back into the rotation. And, that was the difference. Or if he wasn't, I think Walker would have went back in the rotation. I honestly think Carrasco might not have been on the NLDS roster, either. I think they would have held him off until a start in the NLCS.
Yeah,
is very possible.
Yeah, Walker was bad until didn't he have one good pitch? Didn't he have one good outing before the season and he struck out like 10 guys?
Yeah.
Besides that, he was bad.
Overall, Walker had some bad starts at the end of the year. Overall, Walker had a good year, especially as your number 5 starter. You got pretty much all you could ask for out of Walker. The Mets, they did a lot of good things this year that I can't take away. I mean, Tyler McGill stepped up early in the year when DeGrom went down, had some great starts for them before he got hurt as well. Peterson pitched some good games. But I mean, there were some bright spots there. Right. I can't say it was all bad, and I won't. But getting this Yankee series, it's going to be about pitching. And one of the biggest things you're going to see now is you're going to see Aaron Judge pitch to.
Yep, you're going to have to.
It's the postseason now. Teams are not going to be just willing to give him a base, especially in Yankee Stadium with Rizzo hitting behind them.
Yeah.
That's going to be, especially with the production you've seen in the recent postseasons out of Giancarlo Stanton. Because if there's one place Stanton's hit, it's been the postseason.
Yep. Yeah. And Billy, to be honest with you, Billy, the one hitter that I really want to see more from is, it's not even Aaron Judge, obviously, because he's the reason why the Yankees are where they are. It's Anthony Rizzo. Anthony Rizzo had a very hot first 30 games of the season, and since then he's gotten hurt and he's been slow at the plate. We need to see more from our number 3, number 2, number 4, wherever the hell they put Anthony Rizzo nowadays. We need to see more production from him.
But you know what? To me, you say Rizzo, I say Josh Donaldson, because if we can get Josh Donaldson on a tear, it lengthens the lineup that much more.
Well, especially because he's like our number 6 hitter, right?
Exactly. But now you're talking about extending that lineup with hitters.
Right.
Where the middle to the bottom of your lineup are not looking as bad as it, it's not looking as questionable as it normally had been. And, you're pitching a lot more careful to the bottom of that lineup if Donaldson's hitting.
Yeah, but Mike, real quick, sorry, Billy, to cut you off. DJ, you might not even see DJ be playing.
That's what I was just going to get into. Is the biggest questions with the Yankees right now is the construction of the bench on that roster. One spot we already know it's pretty much assured is going to go to Matt Carpenter. And to be honest, the only way to me Matt Carpenter makes that roster is if he could play the field, because Matt Carpenter's got to be a backup first baseman, because I don't see a situation where you're taking Matt Carpenter and Marwin Gonzalez both on the roster. I don't think it's happening.
No.
DJ, DJ's got to be able to play the field too. And I mean, one backup spot we know is going to the other catcher, whether you want to call that Trevino or Higgy. One of them is your catcher.
It's Higgy. Yeah.
To me,
Cabrera.
I want Peraza. No, Cabrera. Right, Cabrera is your starting left fielder.
Right.
I want to see Peraza on the roster. I think Peraza offers you a lot more running, fielding, and also now gives you the opportunity in a big spot where you can hit Carpenter for IKF. And you can put Peraza in there and not worry about your defense. That's a very important, because right now, let's be real. You're saying Carpenter is a pinch hitter. Where's he pinch hitting? Right now, if without Peraza on the roster, he's only pinch hitting for the catcher.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Unless it's the bottom of the ninth and they're less and they're up against a righty and you want to put a lefty in there to try to win, then you can switch shit around,
Yeah.
But right now the starting,
then you'd have to go with, again, you either have, if you don't carry Peraza, you have to, I don't know what you do. That's why you need him to go in there and play shortstop. I know Cabrera could play it, but then you weaken your outfield. Then you're telling me if I feel like Peraza, if Peraza's not on the roster, Marwin Gonzalez then honestly has to be, because then you're talking about Cabrera having to come in and play shortstop. And I mean, I know Carpenter played well in the outfield for us. I don't know how well he could do it right now. I think if he could have done it that well right now, he would have been playing already. So now you're talking about putting Marwin Gonzalez or LeCastro. One of the two of them have to be on the roster if you're not taking Peraza. That's what I think. Peraza could be very valuable. He could take the pinch running role that originally they thought was going to be for LeCastro. He could play defense if you want to hit Carpenter or DJ. If you bring both of them, he could take the pinch. They could pinch hit now for either the catcher or for IKF, and you could put Peraza in for defense when you need to be.
Right. So starting outfield for the Yankees right now: Cabrera on left,
Judge, Bader,
right, and Judge, and then Stanton is your DH.
Stanton's your DH. I mean, DJ on the roster or not, DJ's a bench player right now.
Right.
You're not. Gleyber Torres is your second baseman. Josh Donaldson is your third baseman. If you think if DJ LeMahieu is able to play the field and DJ LeMahieu is able to hit, I want him on the roster. Sure. I love DJ LeMahieu. I love everything he stands as a ball player. Grinder, baller, whatever you want to call him.
Ballin'.
That's DJ LeMahieu. I want to see that guy on the roster. But if he's not healthy, I can't carry him and Carpenter if both of them can't play the field. I can't carry just two bats like that in a lineup where, like I said, realistically, you're probably only hitting for the catcher. And if you take Peraza, you can hit for IKF. I don't think you're regularly hitting for IKF if you don't have Peraza on the roster. You're not regularly looking to put Marwin Gonzalez in left field or at shortstop and put Cabrera in at shortstop.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. I'm more worried about the Yankees pitching than I am the Yankees hitting. I think especially with Carpenter coming back, Bader looks really good since he started actually playing for the Yankees. He's a really good center fielder, really fast around the bases. He kind of put a little bit of a spark in the Yankees winning the last few games, in my opinion. And I like him in the lineup a lot. Now, let me ask you real quick, Billy, before we go over to the series. Does Aaron Judge bat leadoff still?
Yes.
He bats leadoff.
I'll tell you right now what I think your lineup's going to be. You're going to go Judge, Rizzo, Gleyber, Stanton, Donaldson, Cabrera, Bader, IKF, and the catcher.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be your starting lineup.
Right.
I'm
fine with that. I would fine with that. I wish. Listen, in a realistic world, if Benintendi was still here and DJ LeMahieu was healthy, you know what? I would say you go Benintendi, LeMahieu, Judge. But we don't have those two guys right now. You can't.
I mean, with the upset. I mean, but Lou, there's no position where are you playing DJ? I mean, right now, you're not benching Donaldson for him. And you're not benching Gleyber Torres for him, and you're not benching Stanton for him.
Right.
Or Rizzo. There's no position right now. And to be honest, even defensively right now, range-wise, Gleyber Torres is the better second baseman at this point. To me, DJ LeMahieu is better suited now at this point in his career at the corners, at third or first. I like him a lot better filling in for Donaldson and filling in for Rizzo than I do at second base. I mean, a couple of games at second base, and I think that's what you're going to see next year, whether Gleyber's your starting second baseman or they move on from him.
Yeah. No, Steve, I understand what you're saying. He needs protection, but I think right now, look at batting average wise and OPS wise and on base percentage. No one has it higher than Judge.
I know, but Steve, one thing you got to remember, especially playing 3 out of the 5 games in Yankee Stadium, he has protection in Rizzo because one mistake and Rizzo, I mean, he did it 30 plus times this year. Rizzo could take him out. Stanton's a known postseason hitter. Gleyber Torres has been one of the hottest hitters in baseball for the last few weeks of the season, the last month and a half of the season, really. They've got to have faith in that. The best thing to do right now is continue with what they started with Judge as the leadoff hitter, at least for the remainder of this season. Do I like it permanently? No. I mean, Steven, you know me my whole life. I'm old school. I want to see Aaron Judge hitting third in my lineup ultimately. But
you are right. You are old. That is correct.
Absolutely. And I'll own it. Like fine wine. I get better with age. But yeah, I mean, he's saying here, DJ, Rizzo, Judge. I like it, but where are you playing? Who are you taking out of the lineup to put DJ LeMahieu in? And that's where you run into the problem. Nobody in any of those positions deserves to be taken out right now for him.
Yeah, but Steve, you're saying that they'll pitch to him. What's happened 62 times to being pitched to Aaron Judge?
I mean, 62, and he also hit 311. Like you're talking about a guy that can. It's not just OBP.
It's not Aaron. It's not Adam Dunn. It's not 210, 50 home runs. It's 311, 60 home runs.
Yeah, we're not talking about Schwarber batting leadoff for the Phillies. They have to have faith in what got them here right now. And right now, Aaron Judge is their best option. If Benintendi was back, I'd love to see them give up the obsession with having to split up every lefty and righty or try to and bat Benintendi leadoff. And I'd love to see them go Benintendi, Glaber, Judge if they could, but it would more likely be Benintendi, Judge, Glaber. Right. But that's another story. He's, it doesn't look like he's going to be there. I mean, and also with Benintendi back, remember, that would be the best defensive outfield probably in baseball right now. Benintendi, Bader, Judge. I would take that outfield any day of the week, but it's not there for them right now. So that's going to bring Judge as your best option as your leadoff hitter.
Right. All right, and Billy, this goes to our series predictions before we end the show really quick. Billy, let's talk about the 4 games that we got here. We'll start with the Yankees and the Guardians. Billy, 5-game series, 3 games at Yankee Stadium, 2 games in Cleveland. Billy, who do you like here, Billy?
I'm going with the New York Yankees to win the series in 4 games.
Yeah, Billy, I agree with you too. I think the New York Yankees are going to win the series in 4. I think the Yankees, in my opinion, win both games at home. They lose the game against McKenzie in Cleveland, and then they win game 4, in my opinion. I think 3-1.
It's gonna. Our 4-game prediction is going to take them beating Cal Quantrill twice, who's had a great second half of the year. But I think it's going to be. I want to see this Yankee team for once not have to make me have an aneurysm through a full series. Give me a breather. Win it in 4. Give me game 5 off. Let's watch somebody else play game 5 and see who we're going to play in the ALCS and get us back to the ultimate showdown that everybody since probably February has been predicting: Yankees-Astros.
Right, and this goes to our next game, Astros versus Seattle. Billy, who do you have in this 5-game series?
I'm going with the Astros in 4 as well.
Billy, I would rather play the Seattle Mariners. I'm going with Seattle. I'm changing my mind.
I know who I'd rather play, but
Seattle in 5, Billy. The Seattle Mariners are beating the Houston Astros in 5.
I'd be thrilled to see it. I hope you're right on this one and I'm wrong, but I mean, this Astros team is just good.
I know.
Maybe Seattle could catch the lightning in the bottle of Houston having some time off, and maybe they come out of the gate slow. I don't know, but I think it's going to be the Astros in 4.
All right, this goes to our NL. Billy, we have the Braves against the Philadelphia Phillies. Who do you like here, Billy?
It's a 4. It's a theme. I'm going with the Braves in 4.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Braves in 4 too. I honestly think the Braves are the best team in the NL. I like the Braves in 4. And this goes to our last game, the Dodgers versus
the Padres.
The Padres. Sorry, I had a little bit of a brain fart there because I expected the Mets to be there. Billy, I'm going to go with Dodgers, and I'm going to say it. Dodgers in 5.
Yes.
I'm going to call Dodgers in 5.
Exactly what I was going to say too. That's going to be the 1 5-game series. You're talking about now. One thing you got to remember about the National League, the difference between the National League and the American League, this is 2 series of teams that know each other very well. Both of these teams, division rivals that have played each other 19 times this year.
Right.
So you're going to see hitters pitch to a lot differently because they have a lot of data. Remember, we're in the age of analytics and data. They have the Braves have a lot of data on the Phillies hitters and vice versa. The Dodgers have a lot of data on the Padres hitters and vice versa. We're going to see 2, I think, very well-played series. I think those are going to be the more pitching-centered series than the other two. I think you're going to see Austin Nola, Zach Wheeler, Strider's coming back, Kyle Wright, the Braves. We're going to see some good pitch. We know the pitching in Los Angeles. We saw what the top three in San Diego is capable of. We're going to see some good pitching in the two National League series. I'm real confident in that.
Yeah, Billy, I'm really excited. And listen, I'm more excited because I think the Padres, especially after watching them against the Mets in this series, they just have an overall better team than the Mets. And the Dodgers are probably if not the most rounded team in baseball. So I would love to see a team compete with them. I would love to see them make the Dodgers go the distance, but I do think the Dodgers are going to come up winning at 5.
I will exactly, but I will say one thing about the Dodgers. If San Diego can get into the middle of the Dodgers bullpen, they can win the series.
Right.
If they can get some of those Dodgers starters out of the game early, they can beat up on the middle of that Dodgers bullpen and win some games.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. You say Dodgers in 3? Nah, Guardians. Steve, get the fuck out of here. The Guardians in 4. Get the fuck out of here, bro.
Hey,
stop. Stop.
Lou, none of these teams, and that's one thing I'll say. The only team I could say I 100% think have no chance to win is the Phillies. I'm a diehard Yankee fan. We all know this. If you tell me the Yankees lose this series, I'm not going to say you're out of your mind. They're a good team.
Yeah. Nice. Losing a game 8-1. By the way, great job on that. You guys killed it.
Dom, I'm sorry, man. That Blue Jay series was rough to watch. I mean, Seattle came to play. They're a young, exciting team. They're only going to get better.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see. Like I said, I think they're going to lose to Houston. I think we're going to see a lot more of the Seattle Mariners, though. I don't think they're done by a long shot.
No, not at all. All right, guys. Billy, it is officially 8 o'clock, which means that it is time for us to go. But we will be on tomorrow, on Tuesday at 6 o'clock. You want to know why? Because the Yankees are playing at 7. And there is no way that we are doing this podcast during the New York Yankees game. That is not happening.
Absolutely not. That football show will be live 6 p.m. tomorrow. We'll get you guys all your football coverage before the Yankees start. The New York Giants are 4-1. So we're going to end this the way it has to end. Let's go, Yankees.
Let's go, Yankees. Indeed. Thanks for tuning in, guys. You have a good rest of your night. And we'll see you tomorrow. And screw the Phillies.